All right, we're going to have our panel of principals. So you get to see all the principals, and Kyle's going to add a chair behind me. So we have all five, and I'll let them introduce themselves when they get up here. But this was exciting for our study team, and I'll tell you why in a minute, because I know there's a little commotion. Just don't fall off the stage, anyone. That's what we're, Jens, don't go backwards, because your students would like that, but we won't. So it was exciting for us to walk in and meet all these principals, because the schools are amazing, the kids are wonderful, the staff, they're incredible in these buildings. But of course you want to see the principals, right? So the first building we visited was Mary Lang. Raise your hand, Mary Lang at North Godwin. And Mary has a background in reading. So of course, you know, we were thinking, oh my goodness, this to get successful reading scores, maybe they have to have a strong reading background, a master's in reading, had been a reading teacher. You know, you tried to go from each building and not make any assumptions and comparisons. So we're like, that's what it is, or they use this program, or they use that program. Then we went to Jens' building. Jens, I'm going to let Jens tell you his background. So I'll let him introduce himself first, and we'll go this way. And that kind of blew our assumption right out of the water. So Jens, introduce yourself and your background, and everybody will do the same.
Yep, Jens Milibinsky, principal at Lakeshore. I'll just pretty much say the exact opposite of Mary. I started off my career being a German teacher and a social studies teacher at the high school. So I am not a reading expert, most definitely. I had a lot to learn when I moved from the high school. I was an assistant principal for 4 years when I moved to the elementary. What I'm extremely thankful for is I had a lot of really good people to tap into, not just principals in the district and central office staff, school psychologists, teachers, and like I said in the video, how silly for me to think that I can tell the kindergarten teachers through fifth grade teachers the best way to teach reading when I was a social studies teacher and a German teacher. Now I've worked really hard and I'm learning a lot, and I'm continuously learning on reading instruction, knowing who your go-to people are, listening to them, empowering those teachers to make the right choices.
Awesome. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Tim McMillan. I'm from Lakewood Public Schools. I'm principal of Sunfield Elementary, principal of Woodland Elementary, and I'm also the director of curriculum for the district. And so the shared leadership is a huge thing for me because I am separated from my staffs regularly, and I rely on them in the utmost fashion to carry on the way they carry on and do the job that they do. Without the staff and the shared leadership, I wouldn't be sitting up here at all.
Hi, I'm Barb Johnson from Brown, and my background was I started as a middle school teacher, and then I was got my reading master's in reading, and then I was in Kentwood, where, similar to you, I had the opportunity as a reading person to be out and about in lots of different classrooms and could see all the respect that I had gained for educators as a whole, just all the different ways there are. And that's the beauty of today's workshop too, is I think that there's not just one right way, but it's that harnessing all that energy that's out there and pulling, like in the crew boats, I love to see those rowers that they all pull in the same direction. And then I just think if we can just do that as leaders in our buildings, that's the beauty. And so in the last 10 years, I've been at Brown. Interestingly, I just heard on the radio this morning that principals are the happiest people. So there you go, if you're thinking about that job. So.
In July.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're happy people in July. No, just kidding. I'm Mary Lang. I'm the principal at North Godwin Elementary, and as Dorothy mentioned, I do have a reading background. I was formerly a first grade teacher and then a trained reading recovery teacher, and I have a master's in reading as well. So that obviously is my passion, and I love reading. But I too am not an expert at teaching kids or how to read from kindergarten through fifth grade. And I tell my teachers that frequently, they are the most knowledgeable, and the longer you're sit in an administrative position and you have all these other things you have to learn about, the further you get away from what's going on in the classroom, unfortunately, and though you have to rely on those teachers to be the experts, and you have to give them the opportunity to learn, and you have to continue to learn with them as well, so that you can hold them accountable for what you're teaching them and what they're learning. We all know, and we have this phrase in our district, to inspect what we expect. So there are so many things coming at every teacher too, that you're really going to focus on the things that are being inspected by your administrator. So that's a huge important thing as well, to always inspect those things that you really are expecting, and to try to slim the focus down as much as possible, so that there aren't so many things coming at classroom teachers and so many different professional developments, and you really have to trim that focus down so that they are able to get it done in the classroom.
I feel kind of awkward. I'm like facing this way.
I know.
So, pardon my back. Good afternoon. My name is Principal McGee, Jason McGee, and I am the principal of Coit's Creative Arts Academy in Grand Rapids Public Schools. And I started as an art teacher. And I spent about 4 years at the high school level and in the Montessori K-12 as an assistant principal. And I just took on the realms of elementary principal. And so one of the things as an art teacher that really helped me for this position was that I oftentimes would go into the classrooms to find out what teachers were teaching in grades K through 5, and then I would develop art lessons based on that, so that we had that consistent learning happening, not just in their classrooms, but also in their specials. So to be at Coit Creative Arts Academy, where arts are integrated through in and out of our lessons, in and out of our curriculum, in and out of our in everything that we do, it just I'm in a very, very special place, and so that has helped me transition to this role, and definitely the shared leadership aspect of this is definitely powerful, and it helps me. So that's kind of my background and how I got to where I am.
So think about this. How do you give teachers that control, and how do you trust them, and how do you know it's okay to trust them, and so forth? How do you get that, respect among the staff? And any of you can answer the question. How do you go both ways with that shared leadership?
I would encourage you to really know yourself what you think best instruction looks like. When you think of reader's workshop or writer's workshop, if you know the fundamentals there, and then you can help those that don't know that might be the best practice at that particular time or for their needs, then you can guide them with that. And then my goal too is always to give them the resources, every resource that they might possibly need, that I can equip them to be that best teacher. So whether it be an expectation, like Mary said, just make very clear, what am I looking for when I walk into that classroom to observe? But then making sure they have the tools, the books they need, the PD, the satisfaction, the confidence that they need to see, yep, it's organized that way, and that's what she's looking for, and I can do it, and giving them that support.
I think that conversation with the employees is very important. By virtue of my position, I have the opportunity every other day to eat lunch with each of my staffs, and so that's kind of our mini PLC as a building. And so we have that conversation. They know that I'm in tune with what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in the building, but yet we don't have a lot of time, so we use that time as wisely as we can. And just those valuable kind of relaxed conversations is very important.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the relaxed conversations, that open, honest dialogue that you have to have, getting into the classrooms, actually seeing what's going on, and not being afraid to ask a question if you don't know the answer, or asking the tough question, but really getting in there, having as much time with those staff members as can be. I mean, I've got my handful of teachers that I just call all day long, or walk down to their room, having a problem with this, how would you answer this? And letting them know, I'm coming to you, I want to know what your thoughts on this are.
Can I add to that as well? So there's kind of like three things that I want to point out. One, having those relaxed conversations, but to add on to that, those authentic conversations. And they'll tell you. I've set up meetings with each teacher, and we just talk. I'll ask them certain questions. Who are you, and why are you here? What's your purpose? And then they'll tell you, and you'll start to see the leadership emerge from those conversations. That's worked with me. Number two, well, I'll go to this one. There's a video, and I don't know if you guys have seen this video. It's a viral video on YouTube where there's this guy that's dancing in the fields on this hill. If you saw that video, say aye.
Aye.
Great. We might want to show that video later. But there's a guy just dancing on this hill by himself, and everyone's looking at him. What is he doing? And then about 3 other people join, and then 4. And before you know it, there's this momentum, and everybody's dancing crazy to their own beat, their own rhythm. Some had rhythm, some didn't, but they were dancing, and that was the goal. And so you kind of it's about those first few followers. Those first few, not about the leader, those first few followers. So you find those people in your building, you get on board with those guys, you start having those conversations, and guess what? Everybody's going to start to follow.
I want Mary to speak to this point because we found it fascinating, and some of our field study team members have used it in their interview process. Tell us about your interview process, Mary, at North Godwin.
At Godwin Heights, we have started, well, we've done it for the last several years now. We do 10-minute interviews, and we will interview at least 30 candidates, 20 to 30 candidates a day. We tell them ahead of time when they schedule the interview. We have one question for you. It's why should we hire you at Godwin Heights Public Schools? And they can be creative, whatever they want to come in and tell us and just answer that question. And you've all sat in countless interviews, and you know that in the first minute, you know if you want to know more about that person or not. And you drone through the next half hour listening to their answers and knowing that you're not really interested in that person. So we spend 10 minutes back to back all day long. Come in, tell us why we should hire you. If we like what we hear from that speech, then we go into actual teaching interviews with students. We're a high-needs school, high poverty population. It's very, very tough to teach our students. We need to see if they can manage our classrooms. That's step one. So we put them in a classroom. We have summer school kids or wherever we can find students. We put them in a classroom right away teaching a lesson. And then our third step is to go to the traditional question and answer section of the interview process. We, for the most part, can teach teachers the curriculum. It's, do they have the relationships with our kids? Can they make those relationships? And can they manage our students? And do they have the passion to work with this population? Because it really truly is a calling to work with the high needs population. And not everyone's cut out for that, and it's okay. There are other places that they can go and work. So it's worked well for us. And we also we have student teachers, lots of student teachers. We hire a lot of our student teachers if they're quality student teachers. I have strong relationships with both CMU and Grand Valley. We have at least 5 to 7 student teachers every semester in our building. Our teachers work fabulously with them. It is not like leaving the student teacher in the classroom and then walking away so I can get other things done for 6 weeks. It is not like that at all. They're providing one-on-one instruction and small group instruction for students, and they're using those student teachers very effectively. And if you go through my halls, many of our staff were student teachers in our district or were hired as paras and moved into a teaching role. I tell all my student teachers when they start every semester that this is a 3-month interview process for you, and if you want to work in a school like this or in our school district, you can go down the hall and talk to all the people that were student teachers here, and we will hire you if you prove yourself during that long-term interview.
Awesome. I know you have many questions for these leaders of these fabulous buildings, but write them down on the cards because we're bringing the principals back up again after lunch. So write those questions down, and we'll put them in the baskets, and then we'll ask them again. So we'll ask them to exit the stage now. Thank you, everyone.